Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
This is Kristen Bell.
And Adam Brody.
And we're dating.
In our new show, Nobody Wants This.
Right. We're not really dating.
No, in real life, we're married.
Right. Married to other people, not each other.
Oh, this is complicated.
Right. It's just like our love lives in Nobody Wants This, a show about what happens when a bold and sometimes provocative podcast host finds her unlikely match in a sweet traditional rabbi.
You can watch every episode of Nobody Wants This now, only on Netflix.
1, 2, 3, 4. Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome once again to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. And 31 days. 28 weeks. 31 Days of the Dead. 31 Days of the Dead. Day 9. Today we're discussing 28 weeks later. I'm your host, Precious D, and with me is my usual co-host and my best friend, Honeybee, and her brother, Gus.
What?
Welcome back. Welcome back, Gus Gus.
Thank you.
Anyway.
Thank you. Always good to be here.
We're doing 28 Weeks Later from 2007, a sequel to 28 Days Later. This one is directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo, screenplay by Rowan Jaffe and Juan Carlos and E.L. Levine and Jesus Olmo. So none of the people from the first movie are involved in making this movie, but I think, what's his name? The director, Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle was a producer. He was involved with it. The studio didn't go off and do this without him. He was still involved with the production in some way, but for various because he had a commitment to another movie, he couldn't direct it, but he was an executive producer. So he was involved with the development process, just couldn't direct it.
I will say one of the best parts of this movie for me is that, and I usually don't feel this way, but no one from the first movie is in it or mentioned, or I love that because I feel like it just means they died. And as shitty as it is, it's good. It just feels so good. Like, they had hope at the end of the movie. They left us on a good note. Like, maybe we'll survive. And I hope they fucking didn't. Just for purely zombie apocalypse vibes.
Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I believe Cillian Murphy is going to be in 28 weeks later. Well, I mean 28 years. 28 years. I mean, they finished filming.
I'm okay with that.
I don't know what's her name that played Selena. I didn't read anything about her being in it, but Cillian Murphy is in it.
Yeah, I feel like that's great. I feel like him having some story arc of how he lost the girls, perfect, but it's just because these movies are so raw and they're so hardcore, and I kind of like thinking about them fucking dying at the end of the movie. I don't know how to explain it. It just seems realistic to me. That's so hopeful, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna make it. And then, the plane comes and swoops in and takes them, and they think they're going to be okay, and then they're fucking not. And it's just really great.
Wow.
And then we get this whole other 28 weeks where we're, rebuilding. And I just like thinking of how none of them made it. I'm cool with, with Cillian Murphy's character making it to 28 years and having some story about how he lost the girls. But that's one of my favorite things about this movie. Is just like we start with none of those people.
It's really great to like have that fresh start when you can get another piece of the story to like create more world building and to like show more perspective, and you're able to do more with it than just like try and create whatever happens next.
Yeah. Love that it's not their storyline. Love that they paved the way so that we could have this incredible second movie. Love thinking they probably died somewhere raging out, killing each other. And I know that doesn't make me the brightest person, and I can accept that because I just appreciate it.
I don't think it reflects on your level of brightness, but you just mean positivity brightness, not intellectual brightness.
On the inside.
So here's the thing. Post-apocalyptic movies in general, not zombie ones specifically, but post-apocalyptic movies in general are actually often and in many ways optimistic, because they propose that even if there's a nuclear war or whatever, some of us will survive and continue. We'll rebuild in some way, and the human race will go on. Because definitely in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of fear of a nuclear war happening at any moment. And if both sides really did unleash all of their bombs, the likelihood of there being any survivors at all is quite low. But all of these kind of movies...
Except for Godzilla.
Yes.
And Twinkies.
But all of these movies propose that we will somehow survive. But you seem to be opposed to that premise.
Not opposed to the premise that we will all survive, but we all will only survive for so long.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before we meet our fate, which may be, helpful. But probably not. There's these moments, right, of like hope and happiness in real life.
Yes.
And they're not constant. They're very fleeting.
Sure.
You have those moments. And in this movie, and in the last movie, we got those moments of just like pure hope, finding joy in this fucked up situation. But the raw reality of a rage virus taking over, having to watch your dad be shot in front of you. I mean, it's so good and horrible. But it's just, I don't know. I love that the people from this first movie in my brain, when this movie starts, are fucking dead.
Let me mention our cast here before we go any further. Macintosh Muggleton as Don and Alice's son. And, yeah.
Oh,
Don. He's the boy, Don and Alice's son and Tammy's brother. Imogene Poots as Tammy, Don and Alice's daughter and Andy's sister. Robert Carlyle as Don, Tammy and Andy's father and Alice's husband. Rose Byrne as Scarlett, that's the medical officer. Jeremy Renner, as Doyle, a sniper. So he's doing Hawkeye shit even before he was Hawkeye. Harold Perrineau as Flynn, the helicopter pilot. Catherine McCormick as Alice, Don's wife and Tammy and Andy's mother. Idris Elba as Stone, the general. Amanda Walker as Sally. Excuse me. She's a member of the house group and Jeff's wife. Garland Morgan as Jeff, Sally's husband. William Meredith as medical official officer. I thought it said medical officer. Emily Beecham as Karen. Christopher Ryman as rooftop soldier. Philip Bullcock as senior medical officer.
Wow. Is that his
Amanda, it's one L, but that seems anyway. Amanda Lawrence as car park civilian. Tristram Tate as U.S. Army soldier. Raymond Waring as Sam. Eunice Huthart as stunt player. What? Matthew Reeves as U.S. bunker soldier.
What a cast!
Yeah, you can really tell that the budget got bigger on this movie, not only because of the cast, but because they don't film with a potato.
The budget, by the way, was $15 million. The box office was $65.8 million. I did not mention the budget.
That's great.
The budget of the last one was only $8 million, and the box office was $84.7. So,
yes, it
a better.
was.
So the first one was a better investment. Clearly,
Maybe they'll get $25 million for the third one.
Yeah, the third one will cost $100 million and will make $10 million. So not because it'll be bad; it'll just be a worse investment. So yeah, in this movie, we find out. Yes, it's true. The outbreak was only in Britain, and there was some stuff in the last movie about how long, because they're not eating your brains. They're not eating, so eventually they're going to starve to death. And that seems to be, as long as you can keep them from infecting new people, the problem's eventually going to take care of itself. And so NATO has come in to do some cleanup operation and to start bringing some people back to resettle. Well, we start with a little group that has, we start about 28 days later where a little group has huddled together in a house. And and somebody comes banging on the door, and they let them in. Oh, but there's a married couple, and they let us know that thank God our children were on that trip. They took some school trip out of the country, and then shit hit the fan while they were out of the country. And so they're assuming that they're okay and have been spared all of this. And then somebody bangs on the door and they let them in, but that person is being chased. And their whole,
By his mom and dad?
Yes. This whole movie is actually about your family turning on you. So their cozy little life they've been living just gets instantly, in a moment, overturned and torn apart. And Andy, no, not Andy. What are their names? Don.
The dad.
Don. Yeah, Dad. Don and Alice run upstairs and are trying to get away, and then some infected get between Don and Alice, and Don jumps out the window and runs, leaving his wife behind.
Two things.
To die.
Two questions.
Like a bitch.
Yes.
Two questions for both of you. First question. You're in a house. Zombie apocalypse happened. You're all boarded up inside. Someone's banging on the door. It's a child. Help, let me in. Do you let them in?
I probably would, but that's not the reason. The thing is, even if they hadn't let the child in, he was already being pursued. So they probably would have just killed the child. Yes, I'm saying they didn't actually make the wrong. It seems like they made the wrong decision, but they didn't, because they would have ended up dead anyway. Once that kid found them, they were fucked. No, my point is that yes, I would probably let the kid in.
Okay, Gus.
But I would also maybe have I would maybe have planned ahead and have a protocol in place, because they're just surprised. They're like, "What? Someone's knocking at the door? What are we going to do?" You should have already decided beforehand what you're going to do when this situation arises. But
yeah, that's kind of where I differ. I like to think that I'm probably going to be a hard ass in situations like this, but I probably would let the kid in. But immediately upon that, I'm just going to assume that kid's being chased. And I don't know what precautions I would take, but I would not just be going back to dinner.
Yeah, because that's what they. Well, and the mom's looking out the window like mom is also looking out the window like a dumbass, so some of the light shines through or something. I don't know.
No,
but
it's not. It's not the mom. It's another girl who lives there.
That's the other woman.
Her boyfriend ran off 6 days ago. She's hoping that he comes back. He's not coming back unless it's
yeah. She's the dumbass looking out the window. No.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that even if they,
I think in reality, I would probably let the kid in because I'm not as strong as I'd like to think. But in my mind, in my zombie protocol, I'm more of like Selena from the first movie. Like, fuck everybody, just gotta survive. Like, I know the group is important, but it's just too risky, to like let this kid in.
I think that's probably a good part of like having a group, though, is to have those like moral dynamics. I mean, especially for a film, but like, you know, when you're in a situation like that IRL, you really need to have both sides of that argument because, I mean, how can you value a life? Is it worth everybody's lives or is it worth that?
Exactly. Second question. Do you think that the dad did the right thing? Or do you think that he should have intervened with the zombie in between them and tried to save his wife? Who was trying to save the kid?
Well, he fucked up because he went outside and could have turned around and got into a different window. Because he doesn't know that they like left the room, but as he's running away, he does. And so like he knows that she was alive for like a couple of seconds, and he could have fucking tried, but he didn't.
Precious.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, hello. You guys were breaking up a little bit. Do I think he made the right decision? I don't.
Yeah.
I think he made the cowardly decision. I think as far as what his character did, his character was not thinking about right and wrong. His character panicked and ran away. He did not.
Right.
He didn't say, I have to survive for our children's sake. He didn't say, no, I've made all the calculations and I just can't possibly save her. He just chickened out and ran away. He maybe would have been able to
save the dude on the boat and then fucking fails that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I feel like everyone watching this movie kind of has this like generalization or like this feeling of like, fuck him. And they kind of play him this way in the movie. Like when the kids are like, you told me you saw her die. I do not agree with this. I think, fuck man, the zombie was in between them. Do they both die? Does he try to intervene? No, fuck her. She wanted to save the kid. Let her save the kid. I just feel like maybe it was the cowardly thing to do as far as like being a husband, but in the reality of the zombie apocalypse and you wanted to do some dumb shit and now there's a zombie between us and you expect me to save you, you're screaming for me, bitch, go die with that kid that you wanted to save so badly.
The thing is, he says some, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he says some things before that when they think that they're safe that indicate, I love you, I'll love you forever, I will die for you, I will, it's you and me, our love is bigger than this apocalypse, and, we'll be with our children again. And then the minute the shit hits the fan, he's like, oh, I guess I'm not willing to die with you or for you. I am, in fact, a chicken shit. It is, but it's not good. It's not heroic. I mean, this isn't a movie about heroism. It's not a movie about heroism. It's a movie about shitty people being shitty. It's about everything turning to shit. So it's not an optimistic or heroic movie, and that might be realistic, but that doesn't mean I have to like it or like him.
Totally.
I think we're meant to think that he's shit. The movie presents him as being a coward.
That he's shit.
He is a coward.
The movie presents him as a coward, but I just don't think. I think that in the moment, realistically, for himself and things, I just think he made the right decision to stay alive. I don't think he should have gone back for her. I don't think he should have. I think anybody who's married,
he's also a coward in that he doesn't.
Is going to say, whether for 10 years or 3 minutes, is going to say, I would die for you. I love you more than this apocalypse. Blah, blah, fucking blah. But the reality is, that's just something you say when you're married. Is it something that's real?
Okay.
Not a lot of the time.
Hashtag true love at first sight.
Are you saying I can't count on you in the zombie apocalypse, Honeybee? Is that what you're telling me?
You can count on me to shoot you in the brain if you try to eat me. Or if you try to save some kid and let a zombie get between us, I'm going to run the other way. I'm going to stay alive. I hate to say it, but it's just true. You cannot count on me. I'm more of a Selena from the first movie in this aspect of like, you got 10 seconds before you turn from human to ragey monster. I've got 8.5 seconds to pow pow.
I would be Jim from the first movie, and I would kill all those army guys to get to you. There you go.
Okay.
So
my gosh.
These
Well, you're a better person than me. We all know it.
so the kids are still alive, and they come back, and the dad has survived and actually has a leadership position in this new experimental resettlement that they're having, and has to tell the kids that mom didn't make it, but shows that he's a coward again because he can't tell them what actually happened. He can't be honest with them.
He lied.
This movie is so brutal, though. These poor fucking kids. Yeah, well, I mean, they've already lost their mother. They don't need to hate their father, but it's... So the thing is, so we find out that the mother and the son both have this genetic abnormality that is expressed by them having different colored eyes, and we find out later that the mother did not die. She did get infected, but she didn't become enraged. She's not exactly immune. They say she's not immune. She's a carrier, but then they keep saying after that she has immunity. So, like, no, she's got resistance, but she's still a carrier. Her body did not kill off the virus. These kids are so fucking stupid, though. It's really their fault that everything turns to shit, because the boy's afraid that he's going to forget what his mom looks like, so they sneak out and go outside the perimeter of this safe zone to go back to their house to find a photograph of mom. And it turns out that's where mom went after she escaped the zombies in order to wait for them.
Brilliant.
And
Brilliant.
When they come find the kids, and they bring all three of them back, and then realize she is infected. And then Dad...
Dawn fucking kisses her ass.
Yes,
well, not necessarily
Don.
her ass, but, you know.
Don, like a dumbass, breaks protocol because he's got a little card that can unlock anything, because he's like the building supervisor or whatever, and the superintendent, janitor, and
I will say, he says, I'm sorry, he's crying, I'm a pussy, my bad, and she says, I love you. She fucking gets it. She knows. She was there. She was scared. She gets it. She doesn't blame him for being a coward, for leaving her there. I mean, maybe a little bit, but not enough. She still wants to make out with her husband. And I feel like that's another, like, at least she gets it. At least she's not like, fuck you, buddy.
I disagree.
Well,
I think she's fucking vengeful as fuck and knew that she was a carrier after being told that were like realizing that she heard bitten, and like the medical officers doing all these things.
You think they told her that she
maybe not in so many words, but I think that she realized, and then like
she knows
she let him kiss.
She knows that she was bitten and didn't turn, so she must have some idea.
Well, I think that she knows that she was bitten and didn't turn, but I didn't know if she knew that she could spread it by saliva or if she thought it had to be like an attack.
Fair enough, but I think the odds of letting him kiss her are a little great of a risk if she cared.
Yeah.
I don't think she did.
I mean, it didn't work. If that was her revenge, it didn't work out for her very well.
No, but she did kill him. Well, kind of killed him.
Yeah, but she ended up dead too. We get thumbs in the eyes again. So the thing is, so of course he kisses her and gets infected. Because he's a dumbass and he broke protocol and he snuck in to kiss her because he's a selfish douchebag and is as concerned about his not concerned about everybody's safety. He's concerned about his feelings. I have to say sorry and get her forgiveness rather than following protocol. But then, of course, he gets infected and within 10 seconds kills her. And really viciously. But
oh, it's so good.
He then, throughout the rest of the movie, seems to be hunting down his kids. I think there's an idea here that although he is enraged, infected, there's a part of him, a subconscious, that his guilt over what he failed to do is causing him to seek out his kids, because once the kids find out mom's alive, they realize his story is full of holes and they start to figure out what happened. And so I think they, from his, foggy brain, has decided that they must die. They know the truth, and so they must die, because he actually tracks them down over miles to try to kill them.
He is the only zombie that we like follow through any of these movies, but he is incredibly driven.
Yeah,
and there are at least 2 scenes that I recognize that he had recognition of his children when he saw them after he was infected.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where there was like hesitation and recognition.
Yes.
I think that also for us, like as an audience, it like gets in our heads more and it fucks with us, right? Because in the first movie, we just get these randos. We love some of these people and then they turn and it's like, shit, but then they're quickly killed. Whereas this movie, we really just drive it home of like, this is your dad chasing you, hunting you down. It is sickening and it is brilliant.
These poor kids, though, these poor kids lost their mother twice because they thought she was dead, found out she wasn't, and then she died again right away. And now they've lost their dad. Yeah, they didn't actually get to... Well, they saw her briefly in the house, and then the army showed up. But there's this whole thing, though, with, okay, so the mother's immune, so the boy might also be immune. So we've got to protect him and study him and maybe find a cure or at least a treatment. And if it works, we might actually be able to reverse the process, not only a vaccine to keep people from getting it, but we might be able to reverse those who've been infected. So, but the leaders aren't listening to this doctor. Once the outbreak happens, they try to contain it, and they're like, oops, can't contain it. Go ahead and kill everybody, not just the infected. Go ahead and we got to just burn it all. And which is in a way the appropriate response, but it's too late. And the thing is, at the end of the film, it seems like at the end of the film, the infection has spread to Paris. It had been contained in Great Britain, but by the end of the film, we see that it's now in France because we see the Eiffel Tower. And this is maybe the boy's fault. They don't give us exactly a lot of detail, but
it's gotta be, right?
The brother and sister do get out of the whole situation, and I can't remember where they were planning to go, but I guess got off
just across the channel.
Got off the island.
Yeah,
but
just going across the channel. But
it seems like when the father attacked the boy, is that the boy got infected, but is and becomes a carrier. He wasn't infected up until this point, but he becomes a carrier and may have carried it to France, which is now going to spread. Once it's in France, it can spread over that entire hemisphere. It might not spread to North and South America, but it's going to make its way all through Europe and probably into Russia and over into the East and all the way to Japan. Maybe not Japan because it's an island, but it's going to sweep through Egypt and Korea and China. And
so
India,
we know that this kid,
all those places that are physically connected to Europe.
Yeah. This kid is a carrier. His mom was a carrier. So I'm sure there are other carriers.
Yeah.
It takes one scientist to fuck up somehow, some way, get infected, and then boom, starts over. 28 days, 28 weeks. Things are shit. I love it. I don't know why. These movies, they scratch an itch for me.
See, I liked the hopeful ending of the first movie. I did not like the hopeless ending of this one. So we'll see what 28 years later, we'll see what the end result is in that movie. And it's supposed to be the start of a new trilogy. Rather than the end of the original trilogy, it's the beginning of a new trilogy. So I don't know. Brilliant. I don't know how that naming convention is going to continue.
Yeah, I was thinking it was going to be like 28 months if they were going to follow the lead.
Yeah. Yeah, they've skipped over months because it's been too long. It's been too long since they made the last one, so it has to be years. We had days and weeks.
I told you, it's been 28 years now.
But then what do you do after that? 28 decades later? That's not how people count things.
Zombies in space.
So what do you guys, is there anything else you guys, either you wanted to mention before we wrap up?
Yeah, anything you want to mention about the second movie, about the family, about the zombies?
Jeremy.
I do have a couple of notes of like how incredible some of the shots in this movie were, and how some of the like the different moments between some of the characters are just like so iconic for me. Like as I see them, it's just like so deeply memorable. Like when Doyle is fucking with his buddy in the helicopter, and then the scene where Doyle's like pushing the car in the chemical fog and then it gets burned. Like, it's just so powerful how close you get to these characters, and you really think that they're gonna make it, and only a couple of them do, as you do.
Yes, and like Scarlett too, when the dad finds him and like eats the dog shit out of Scarlett with the butt of a gun. Also, something interesting about these movies, if a zombie apocalypse happens in America, well, everyone just pulls out their gun, right? The zombie apocalypse happens somewhere where only the military is carrying guns. A lot of these weapons that people have are just blunt objects, which makes these movies way more intense, right? Because we would just you know, when Scarlett, when he beats the shit out of her with the butt of a gun, and you really think she's gonna make it because she got shot in the leg, she's still, it's just like so good. I definitely also, there's a drawing in the helicopter, right, where it's like for dad and it's like helicopter, and then we see at the end of the movie that drawing, the like camera pans to that drawing, they're obviously dead. It's just so good. It's just so good. Oh, I love it.
Now I wanted to mention, I should have mentioned this in the last one. 28 Weeks Later, if you want to watch it, is streaming on Hulu and Disney Plus. It's included. But you can also buy or rent it from all the various places. But 28 Days Later is not. You can buy and rent it, but it's not streaming included anywhere. It was, I think, on Hulu and Disney until recently. It has to do with the new movie. It has to do with who was the distributor when the movies first came out, and so who has the distribution rights, and who is the distributor for the new movie. So when Disney's current deal ran out because of the company that's making 28 Years Later, they didn't renew their right to show it. Disney, I guess, owns the company that distributed the second movie, but not the company that distributed the first movie. So they can still keep streaming 28 Weeks Later, but whoever currently has the rights and is making the new movie also has the rights to the first movie. They acquired them when they acquired the rights to do the new movie. So that's why you can't find it streaming for free. And
so
whoever that is.
Which one do you like better?
Which movie do I like better?
Yeah.
I like the original better.
The first one?
And yes, I like 28 Days better. So what are you guys gonna rate?
Hold on.
I think the original is probably more iconic throughout society for those who care about these things, just because that was like such a hardcore movie and it like started the genre. But for me, it's definitely the second one. There's just so much more connection to the characters in that one for me, except for Frank, because I fucking love Frank in the first movie. But like, there's just as somebody who enjoys a good military action movie, the second one really does it for me too.
So I think that when I first watched these movies in like the early 2000s, the second movie, I liked the second movie more, and maybe that's just because like I was so surprised that there was another one, and it was like, oh, so good. Yes. And like the connection of but watching them this time and watching the first movie, I was thinking like, oh man, I really love the second movie. But then watching the second movie, I was like, man, I think I might.
Prime Big Deal Days is here.
With exclusive savings just for Prime members. Woohoo! Involuntary deal squeals can happen, like the deal on travel mug squeal. The deal on a new blender squeal. Yeah! Or the classic deal on electric toothbrushes squeal.
Oh, yeah! Woo!
Save big on electronics, fashion, and more this Prime Big Deal Days. On now.
Just barely like the first one better. And it's for those moments of just pure hopelessness. But I will say that the second movie, The Dad, Following the Dad, they're just both so good. 5 brains for me.
Gus, what are you going to rate it?
Yeah, I mean, if I gave the first one 5 brains, you know I'm going to give the second one 5 brains. Not only is it such a wonderful sequel to like build on the world more and to be able to showcase a different side of what's happening and how like the world is responding and how the timeline is going and how they're trying to fix things. I think it's just a much better film in being able to show those things instead of just being one small point in time.
Yes, and something that makes the second movie so good is that we're rebuilding. There's running water, hot water, electricity, bars. Like these people, they're rebuilding. They have all of this shit. And then in moments, it's fucking gone. And I love it. I love it. I can't wait for the next one.
I'm only giving it 4 brains. I don't like it I like it, but I don't love it. I don't like the pessimistic outlook of this film as contrasted with the first one. And I just don't like the characters as much. I don't really care about these 2 kids. And it's not that they're bad actors or anything, but I just don't find any of the characters particularly likable, whereas all 4 of those main characters in the first movie were very likable. Even Jeremy Renner, I didn't give a shit about really. And nobody in it was very likable, which makes it sad. The thing is, if they are likable, then just like with Frank in the first movie, if we actually like and care about these characters, then it's more tragic if they don't make it. But if everybody's just just a little bit of an asshole and a selfish dum-dum, then, I don't care. And I don't care if they die.
Well, I think that kind of speaks to Honeybee's point of whether or not people are going to be, selfish within their animal instincts to survive rather than, try and save everybody around them. And I think the pessimistic viewpoint of this film probably stems from the concept that they wanted to go that way in the first film. And then, like you said, their test audiences probably didn't care all that much and they wanted a happy ending. So they said, fuck the audience and did what they wanted.
Yeah, but even then, even if you go with a bad ending in the first movie, it's a tragedy because you liked everybody. Whereas in this one, it's not really a tragedy because they're all just dicks. So I feel less emotionally connected to them when they die. And I think that's just not as good storytelling. I think in any movie, no matter what kind of a movie it is, that it's better if you have some sympathy for whoever your lead is. Even if they're a straight up villain, they have to have some sort of a charm or likability or relatability.
I'm surprised you didn't feel that way with the kids, though, that they had a charm or a likability, especially when they go through the whole pact of no matter what happens to you, happens to me. And she thinks her brother is infected and then still walks up to him without the gun. She drops the gun and chases after him. Kind of if you're infected, I'm infected. I'm surprised that you didn't feel
I think maybe the script indicates that I should, but perhaps the performances were underwhelming or the actors themselves weren't charming enough. Okay. I just don't feel that may have been the intention, but I don't think they pulled it off. I don't think they succeeded. Because
I feel the kid in the beginning, fuck that kid. But the other kids, I do feel more emotionally connected.
That kid in the beginning is a home wrecker.
I mean, the thing is, you can have the exact same script and give it to two different actors, and one of them you're going to love that character, and the other one you're not, because
definitely
because they just have a charisma that somebody else doesn't. So there you go.
All right, the 28 series will be back in 28 years. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll tell you what. When the new movie comes out, we will do a follow-up for our patrons on Patreon and review that one. So,
and I'll be there too.
So if you want to hear that, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/MMFTG. Until tomorrow, I have been Precious D.
And
remember to keep.
And I've been
Gus Gus is with us today. Yay! Remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements.
And please don't misuse science.
Destroy the brain.
Remove the head or destroy the brain.
Double tap.
We won't see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go. You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please consider rating and reviewing us on your podcasting platform of choice. You can leave us a message and find links to all our things at mmftg.com.